Awesome. So let me again begin with some introductions, guys. My name is Mihir. I'm a velocity trainer with Newton Connectivity Systems. Today, I also have Ali with us. She is the RMA's resident velocity trainer and an expert on compliance. We also have Taj with us. I'm sure everyone knows him. He is your regional vice president. And we also have Carly with us. She is account manager at Newton. So amazing. And all of you, thank you so much for joining in for the call today. We have a lot of important topics that we'll be covering up today that are connected to document management in Velocity. And if you have any questions, just like the previous call we've had, please raise your hand and we'll definitely answer your questions. Feel free to put your questions also in the meeting chat. Ali is going to monitor them and respond to you over there. Now, this call is getting recorded and I will be sure to upload this on our Newton's YouTube channel. The first meeting is already uploaded in there, so feel free to access it at any point of time. And on that note, let us get started. So the first topic of the day is going to be, how do we use Velocity when we are not in Canada? Very important. So guys, at Newton, we have an information security team that monitors a lot of things behind the scenes that we guys do not see. And it's to ensure that your data on the platform is absolutely safe and secure. Having said that, in certain countries, when you go to certain countries and try to log into newton.ca, the website itself may not open, right? So in that scenario, what you're going to need is a VPN that supports Canadian servers. So here's the thing, and this is what I generally recommend everyone to do. Whenever you are traveling outside of Canada, it could be any country, please ensure that you do have a VPN that supports Canadian servers so that you are able to log into the platform at any point of time. Any questions on that? None, I believe. Perfect. Let's move to the next one. And for that, I'm going to start sharing my screen. Please give me a thumbs up, guys, if you're able to see my screen. Perfect. So sometimes there could be slowness issues in Velocity. Sometimes it could be a problem that we have to look into. At times, it could also be a local computer. So how do we navigate through a technical issue that we are having in Velocity? What are those first steps you need to take to ensure that you can resolve those issues at your level? That involves deleting your browser cache images and files, right? That involves deleting your browser cached images and files. And on Google Chrome, I'm going to show you how do you do that. So when you are on Google Chrome, where typically towards the top right-hand corner, you should see your profile picture. Next to that, you have got three dots in a line. And when you click on those three dots, you should see a whole bar filled with Google Chrome settings. Now, typically in the center of that bar, you should be able to locate something known as delete browsing data. Now, when you click on delete browsing data, a new window should open with all Google Chrome settings. And there should be this particular box in there called delete browsing data. First thing you need to ensure is if your box is set to last 15 minutes, last hour, 24 hours, then go to more and change it to all time. Then when you click on show more, and especially if you've come to this box after a really long time, all of these boxes will be checked off for you. So you need to uncheck everything except for cached images and files. Uncheck, right? The keyword is uncheck. Uncheck everything except for your cached images and files, and then click on delete data. As you can see on my screen, I just have got 1 MB of cached images and files, probably because I delete mine almost 5 to 10 times a day. Typically, what I have seen is the moment your cached images exceed 3 to 400 MB, also it depends on the capacity of your computer's RAM, but typically if it is more than 3 to 400 MB, that's when you start experiencing a little bit of slowness on the platform. So the moment you delete your cached images and files, go back into Velocity, probably re-log in or simply refresh your page, you should see better speed, all right? So that's two very, very simple but extremely important topics. Any questions on that, guys?
Yeah, you got one question that asking how often do you need to clear your cache? Now
Really depends.
I know you say often, but
Yes. It really, really depends on your use. Let's say if you are someone who's using um, Prime Video, Netflix, and Velocity on the same computer, I would say do it at least once a day. Because cached images and files is something, I'll tell you what exactly they are. You've got a lot of data on the servers of these platforms. For you to be able to access that data, it is stored temporarily on your browser, and that's exactly your cached images and files. So if you're doing a lot of streaming, or if you're logged into a lot of lender portals at the same time, or if you're on YouTube and watching videos, your cached images and files, they keep on building up all the time. So depending on your use case, you might have to delete it probably once every couple of days, or even it could be once a day, right? So yeah, thank you, Taj, for bringing that up. All right, so let's move on and let's talk about document management in Velocity, which is basically conditions and documents tab that we have. So if you would navigate to literally any deal in Velocity, you should be able to see a tab in there called conditions and documents. And this is exactly the page where everything related to documents in Velocity happens. So let's start with actually a clean slate. And I'm just going to start a new application. All right. So typically, when you start a deal manually, and if you head directly to conditions and documents, this is what it would look like. You've got a few icons over here. These icons will eventually become important in our conversation. Then towards the right side, you should actually see three buttons: prepare compliance, actions, add upload conditions. Now, Ali, please correct me if I'm wrong. Since you guys don't do compliance in Velocity, this button is not going to be applicable for you. Is that correct?
That's correct. Scarlet Pay is used currently.
Yes, yeah. So guys, for all of you, ignore the prepare compliance button. That's not for you. But add upload conditions and actions, you will be using these buttons all the time. So let's start with something simple. How do we create different condition labels in this section so that documents could be uploaded over there? So there are two ways in doing this. First option is you can create individual labels, as in the first label can be pay stub, followed by employment letter, followed by T1, NOA, etc. So that's one label you can do. Let's see how do you create them. So click on add upload conditions, this green button over here, and you should see this pop up. And then when you click on the condition drop down over here, you will see a long list of conditions which is created by us in Velocity. Now, these conditions are also organized under different sections. It always begins with income. Then if you scroll down, you'll see down payment. Then you'll see a section called property. If you continue to scroll down, you will see signed documents. If you continue to scroll down, a section called others. Below others, you will see compliance forms. We will, of course, talk about that today. And then at the end of this particular drop down, you will see insurance forms, and that's where you'll see MPP. Right? Just trying to help you guys understand the structure of this pop-up, this drop down. So if you want to create a pay stub condition on the deal, simply select pay stub from the list and then click on this green button called add condition. Please notice that some notes automatically populated when I added this particular condition. Let's do this one more time with employment letter. So again, when you click on the drop down, look for letter of employment in the list and click on add condition. And again, you would see that some notes have automatically populated in here for me. For the time being, I'm going to close this pop-up. So you can see the labels over here. Now, each label could be assigned to the applicants within the file. So click on select borrower. You will see the name of all the applicants in the file, and you can simply assign them. Let's assume that you have created these labels by mistake and want to get rid of them, want to completely delete them. Whenever you click on the label itself, it should expand. When you click on it again, it should minimize. And when you expand a label, at the bottom right, you should see a button called Archive. Click on the Archive button and you will see the following question. Are you sure you want to archive the document? This cannot be undone. If you click yes, it would be deleted. Let's delete it one more time. So if you simply expand the condition, look for the red Archive button. When you click on this button and click yes, it gets deleted. So that was one way for you to add conditions and delete them. But then how come these notes automatically populated in here? And in my case, you can see notes towards this right side box and also towards the left side box. All right. So if you want to use Velocity for document collection in the sense that you want clients to directly upload documents in here, when you request them from the clients, these notes will be visible to them on the client portal and also on the email. So an activity that everyone needs to perform just one time is you need to go to your profile section and you need to add these notes once. So what I'm going to do is when I upload this recording to YouTube, probably today or tomorrow, I'm also going to be sending a document to Nicole that will include my document notes. That's a good starting point for you guys to create your own notes. Of course, please do not use my notes because it's just examples and samples, right? But it's a good starting point for you guys to create your own. Now, here's the question. Where do you add these notes? So click on your initials at the top right, and then go to Profile. Profile is the second button in this menu. When you are on the profile page, if you recall, this is the page where we went when we were discussing client experience in session 1. So ignore all the client experience settings for the time being. Continue to scroll down and go to Conditions and Documents. Under Conditions and Documents, go to Customized Conditions. And there are two very important things that you can do under Customized Conditions. When you go to Generic Conditions, that's where you can add your notes. And when you go to Custom Conditions, this is where you can create your custom labels, something we will talk about shortly. So for now, we go to Generic Conditions. You would see the same section headings that I was showing you just a few minutes ago. And then when you click on, let's say, for example, income, you will see all the documents listed under income. Towards the far right side, you've got a blue chat-like icon. When you click on that icon, you will see the first box. It says it's titled Message for Client. Second box is titled Internal Message. Whatever you mention here will be visible to the clients if you request documents in Velocity. Anything you mention under internal message, that's only for your personal review. So one practice I have seen, especially with a lot of new agents that are being coached by brokerages, is whatever they learn about how to look at a specific document, they mention it under internal message. So they have a ready reference when a client is uploading the documents. That's also one way of using this particular second box over here. So as I mentioned earlier, one of the things you could do is simply pick each and every label like pay stub, employment letter, and you create your individual labels in this particular section. But there is also one more way. You can create your own custom label called income documents and everything under the same label. Upload pay stubs, employment letters, NOAs under the same label. So for you to be able to do that, what you have to do is you just have to create a custom label on the profile page, right? I'll show you how easy and straightforward it is. You would again go back to the same place, which is Profile. You would again go back to Conditions and Documents, and go to Customized, go to Custom Conditions, and this is where you will create a label. So how do we create a label? Simply hit this blue button over here called Add a Custom Condition. You should then have an option to type something here. For instance, you call it income documents. And then you can categorize this under a section called income or any other section of your choice. And then you have a blue box over here towards the far right side. When you click here, you will see a similar window, and this is where you'll type pay stubs, T4s, employment letter, or anything you would like. And then you can click on Save Note, and that's going to save your custom label over here. You would then go back into the deal. Now, when you click on Add Upload Conditions, this green button over here, click on the drop down. And now when you go to the income section, you should see income documents. And watch what happens when I add income documents into the deal. I selected the condition, add condition, and the notes that I entered in my profile, they automatically populated. Right? So let's close this. And of course, you can assign it to the applicants. Click anywhere to expand. And now you should be able to see an upload button. That is, if a client, for example, has emailed the documents to you and now you want to upload them over here, this upload button is how you'll be uploading them. Next to the upload button, it says maximum 15 MB. Let me very clearly explain what it means. It does not mean that it can hold only documents of 15 MB. What it actually means is every individual PDF or an image that you try to upload in here should be 15 MB or less. You could upload very well 10, 15, 20, 25 PDF files in one condition, and it's absolutely fine. Does that make sense? Yeah? All right. So let's upload something. So click on the upload button, and it's of course going to tie to your local computer. Select any document you would like to upload. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to upload this PNG file over here, guys. I'm going to upload a PNG file, and I'm going to say open. And if you see, it was automatically converted into a PDF. Right? There is also a tool called auto compression that works in Velocity. So let's say, for instance, you upload something which is, let's say 13 MB, it will automatically compress to, for example, 11 MB or 10 MB. So that is an auto compression tool that works in the background. It's not something which will be very clearly visible to you, right? So that's that. Now, when you upload a document, you've got a remove button towards the far right side. And if you click on the remove button, you'll be presented with this question. If you remove this file, it will be deleted and you will not be able to retrieve it. Are you sure? If you click yes, remove the file, it's permanently gone. All right. Now let's upload one more document. So now I'm going to upload a PDF, which includes, it's one PDF that includes a pay stub and an employment letter. Something that can happen to you in a real life scenario too, right? So now you've got a view button over here. If you click on the view button, it should open up in a new window. Should show you all the documents. To deal with these type of scenarios, and if you would like to split these documents into two, you have a split button over here. So before I split, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create one more condition, right? Add upload, and I'm just going to say letter of employment, add condition, close. Same thing we did before. Now I will click on the split button over here. Now you should see the documents towards the left and the conditions towards the right. Simply drag and drop the conditions, drag and drop the documents into the conditions and click save. And now if you view, it's going to be only pay stub and employment letter separate.
Mihir, really quick, a question came in the chat. Is there a hide option instead of delete?
Oh, no, sorry, there is no hide option. But there's one thing you can do if you like. You can create a custom label called other conditions. and put all the documents you do not plan to use for submissions in that condition. So you can categorize that separately just for your record keeping, right? But yeah, unfortunately, there is no button for you to be able to hide, right? So that's that. So remove, view, then you've got a button here called split. Move button is the one I was referring to right now. If you click on move, select the condition where you would like to move this particular document, and then click save. It disappears from here and it gets uploaded to whichever condition you selected from the dropdown, right? And the opposite of split is merge. For instance, you requested bank statements. A client has given you 12 months of bank statements, meaning 12 PDF files. With the help of a merge button, you can merge everything as one single PDF, right? So that's that. Now, let me show you that instead of you collecting documents by email, how can you directly request documents from clients through Velocity? So for that, I'm going to remove income documents, guys. This was only for the purpose of the presentation. I'm going to add pay stub over here because that's the method I personally prefer. All right, so I'm going to assign these conditions to Ali. All right, so we are going to request two documents from Ali, for example, employment letter and pay stub. Here's how you request them. Select the conditions you would like to request from the client and go to the actions button over here. The actions button that's located under conditions and documents, not the one at the top of the deal, not that one, this one over here. So go to the actions button over here, and then in the middle column, you've got, it's titled client portal, and it says email request documents for conditions. Click on this hyperlink. You should then see the following email. Now, I haven't added any email address in here, so there is no plus button. So I'm going to actually cancel this, go back to the borrower section, and I'm going to first add my email address in here. So just give me one quick second. So that is my email. Perfect. Let's go back to conditions and documents. Selecting the conditions, going to actions, request documents for conditions. And now you would see a plus button over here. When you click on the plus button, name of the applicants will pop up. When you select the name, their email addresses will be added into it. Now you can type in an email over here. So please upload following documents. I believe we spoke about setting up email signature in the last call. If you have already set it up on your settings page, it will pre-populate in this email. So now it's already set up. If you hit the send button, you should see a success message over here at the top right, which tells you that the email has been successfully sent out. Now, before we go to Edith's question, one last thing I want to show you guys. When you send out emails like this from Velocity, they are also tracked. So if you go to communication history tab of the deal, you should see that email is recorded with a date and a timestamp. But besides tracking, there is also one more important thing you could do. Let's assume that I have sent this email to Ali. I'm waiting for her to upload the documents. She hasn't for 48 hours. And then I call her and she's like, Mihir, I missed your email. Can you please resend it to me? So do you have to do the whole thing again, like select all the conditions and request docs again? No, that's not required. Just come to communication history, click on this hyperlink of the subject, and you'll be able to see that email. It's already set up. Hit the send button again, and you've just sent out an email once again, and again, it's recorded over here, right? Yes, Edith, you have a question for me.
Yeah, just a quick question about the documents. So I'm a Finmo user. So when we're sending a document request, it's just a simple click link and it goes through as an automated request. Do we have to send this email or does it automatically go to the client as a link?
So if you are using a tool called Smart Rules in Velocity, the link will go out automatically. And in fact, the conditions will also be created automatically. But this process is applicable to someone who wants to be more in control of what is actually going out to the client.
Okay, so there is a Smart Doc option as well.
Yeah,
too.
there is.
Okay.
There is.
Okay.
So how that works is it works only for online applications. It doesn't work for a deal you manually start. And on your profile page, there is a toggle over here called Smart Rules.
Okay.
And here's the workflow. Here's how it works. A client completes an online application, gives you a credit consent and a PEP. You receive the deal. System automatically creates a list of conditions, adds them into conditions and documents, sends an email to the client with the link where they can start uploading the documents right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Here, we had one quick question in the chat as well. It's more so
Yeah.
for the client experience email. If the
Yeah.
client states they didn't receive the client experience email, how do we resend it?
So resending would be the same in terms of for client experience, is the same thing. You'll have to go through the whole process again, like add client experience and resend it to them. But before you do that, just check your sent folder. If your email address was connected to Velocity, you should see a copy over there. So maybe just forward the same email to the client instantly from your email provider. Right? Yes, Alan.
Is there a way to modify the default subject line for the email?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
So let me
I
show you
guess you'll
something.
get to that eventually.
So actions and just start typing.
Okay, no, I know that, but like it just auto-populated with the name and file number. Can we,
Yes.
is there a setting where we can go and
Oh,
change that?
okay. Now I understand. No, I'm sorry. That's how we've set it up actually. So there's no way for you to change that subject line.
Okay, so it's just manually retyping.
Yeah.
Okay.
Retype it. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Yes. Ali, was there any other question?
No, but I am going to add something to that. So, here, can you pull up the portal request again?
Yeah.
Just to show us the subject line. I'm going to make a recommendation here for compliance because FSRA wants us to see us keep copies of all our client communication. So you see how the deal number there is in square brackets? That's a very important piece in your subject line. So as clients respond to you and you respond back to them, even from your email, whatever you're using, Gmail, Outlook, whatever the case may be, if you're BCCing the tag email, a copy of this email will be kept in your communication history. Why is that important? If you have anybody who is helping you on your file, like if you have team members, if you all work on files together, if you have an assistant, or unfortunately, we actually just recently had this happen at RMA where one of our brokers actually passed away and we were unable to get into his emails. And somebody had to be brought in to finish the files. Being able to copy things into your files, into your communication history, obviously we don't plan for that to happen, but having it there is pretty important. So I would recommend, even if you're changing the subject line, to still keep the deal number in square brackets so that you can, again, blind copy the tag email so that it's in your communication history.
All right. Thanks, Ali. So guys, the tag email that Ali is actually talking about is located on the settings page. You would go to your initials at the top right, go to settings, and go to the same place where you have set up your email signature. And right above the email signature, you can see the tag address. Each Velocity account has their own unique tag address, and as long as the tag address is placed into CC or BCC, along with the deal numbers in square brackets, that email in approximately 15 minutes will be mapped into the deal's communication history. All right. Okay. So let us move on. So I'm now going to open my Outlook and I'm going to show you what does that email looks like when a client gets it from you. So give me one quick second. There we go. Now again, since my email address is not connected to my demonstration account, it says my first name and that's my last name, but it says no reply at newton.ca. This will be replaced with your email address the moment it's connected in your settings page. The email, the notes, the names of the conditions, and my signature. Now to upload the documents, client would click on Upload Documents button over here, and they'll be taken to a client portal, which is connected to the deals. All right. Oh, 1 second. So let's click on upload. This, all right. Yeah. So this happens at times, guys, in a demo account where it's not. So I'm just going to request documents once again. Let's select this. And let's hit send again. Let's see what it looks like when I get the email. I'll show it to you. So for each condition, there will be an upload button. It's going to be very straightforward. And again, when a client even uploads a PNG or a JPEG, it again auto converts into PDF. Just waiting for that email to come up, and then I'm going to show you what that looks like. Let's see. Yeah. So this is what the portal actually looks like. Name of the client, name of the document, and the notes you've set up on your profile. Then what they do is they can drag and drop or click on select files. I'm going to select the same files again. And there we go. Now, if the client, after uploading the document, clicks on this complete button, you will instantly receive an email which will tell you that in XYZ file number, so-and-so conditions were uploaded. If the client does not click the complete button, you need to wait for 30 minutes to get that notification. That's the only difference in terms of you being notified. But in either of the scenarios, you will always be notified that documents were uploaded. Now, let us go into the deal. I'm going to refresh the page. Now, if you see a little difference over here, 2 green paper clips towards the right side telling you that documents were uploaded. And then these 2 symbols, not sure if anyone had a chance to notice this, they were all gray colored, but now these 2 have become green. All right. So what do they actually represent? Employment letter and pay stub were requested. And so the requested symbol, which is this one, that's turned green. Since they were also received, the received button has also turned green. Now, here's what you can do. You can either click on the condition, expand it, and view it, or you can simply click on the green paperclip and view the document. If you think that this document is perfect and you can use it for your lender submissions, here's one thing you can do. You can check off this tick mark over here, which is going to lock it out of the client portal, meaning under the letter of employment, the client is no longer expected to upload anything. One more thing that you can do is after you've sent these documents to the lenders, of course, all of this is optional. You can mark it as sent. And if the lender has approved them, you can mark it as approved. But using these 3 is totally optional. All right.
And
So
so,
up until
boss,
now, yeah. So up until now, we've basically.
huh?
I'm going to mute everyone. Give me 1 second here. All right. So up until now, what we've covered is how do you create condition labels for individual documents? How do you create conditional labels like income documents? We've also covered where do you add your notes? I'm going to be sharing a sample with you. How do you request documents from clients? And how do you upload them if it is already received by email? Now let's understand that once the documents are collected over here, how can you download them if you need to upload them manually to a lender's portal? Or how do you directly submit them to a lender right from this section? We'll also talk about e-sign. If anyone has got that question, we'll be talking about that too. All right. So if you would like to download these documents, first of all, select all the conditions that you would like to download. Then go to the actions button over here. And in the first column, you should be able to locate this option called download selected as zip. When you click on that, all the conditions will be downloaded to your downloads folder. And then you can simply drag and drop them into a lender's portal if required. So that's option number one. Option number two, we have integrated a tool in Velocity which is called Direct Document Submission, and that tool currently supports 184 lenders, if I'm not wrong. Okay. I will again be sharing a list of those lenders with Nicole after this meeting is over. And what do I basically mean by direct document submission in very, very simple words? Typically, what do you have to do when a lender needs documents? You would log into their portal and you will drag and drop all the documents in there, and probably that's how the underwriter gets notified. Direct document submission in Velocity takes that entire step away from you. You don't have to log into the portal. It directly goes to the underwriter. Like for instance, if you have a deal with Home Trust and if you use Velocity's direct document submission, the docs will directly be uploaded to Loft, right? And the underwriter will also be notified. Now let me show you how that system works in Velocity. So again, select all the conditions that you want to submit to the lenders. Go to the Actions button at the top, and right over here at the top, it says Submit Documents. Save time by submitting your documents securely to lenders through Velocity. Click Submit Documents. You will see the name of the lender over here and the mortgage request number over here. Hit the Send button, and that's about it. You're done. And in this list, I should say probably the 185th lender that is hopping in tonight is TD Bank. Yeah, it's going live tonight. It's a soft launch, but yes, it's going live. All right. Now, there is also a way for you to be able to email these documents if that is what an underwriter or a lender prefers. So again, select all the conditions, go to the Actions button over here. This time we are going to the third column, Email Conditions and Documents. When you click here, you can type an email address. For example, I'm just typing one over here. Click Enter, and that's it. Your email address gets added. The difference, if you notice, is those documents within the conditions have been uploaded here as attachments, and now you can just send it to anyone you want. Again, all of these emails will be recorded in the communication history. Yes, Alan.
So with that direct send to the lenders for the documents, I guess different lenders have different formats on their portal. Will we see, like sometimes you can view the documents you submitted within the portal. Sometimes there'll be a note. Will each of those individual documents be populated on the other end with the lender portal?
So it really depends. One thing I can confidently tell you is on Loft, for example, for Home Trust, you will be able to see it. But then with certain lenders, the submission platform for brokers is different versus where they actually access the documents. So if that's the scenario with the lender, you will not see it, but they would have still received it. Now, over here under history, you should be able to see that the documents are submitted to the lenders already. So it really depends on how that lender is managing your client documents. Home Trust, I'm confident because I've seen their entire system. It's fab. So it works. But most likely, and again, I don't want to take a name here that I'm not confident about, but there's one lender I know where broker system is different and how they access it in the back end is so different, really different. In that scenario, you wouldn't have a direct, like you wouldn't know it. But you can be confident that the documents will be submitted as long as it's the lender in one of, in the list that I'll be sharing with you. Right. So yeah, that is that. Anything else, Ali, that we have in the meeting chat that we should address?
No,
Nothing?
but I do
Okay.
have something I'd like to add to conditions,
Please.
like how some other brokers use these sections. If you can open up like pay stub or letter of employment there.
Sure.
I know we touched on this a little earlier, but you see how there's the difference between the agent internal and the customer external. Another way that I have seen people use the internal emails is if they have a team or an assistant. So for example, if somebody else is doing your document collection for you, what I have seen is that agents will sometimes make a note for their assistants or their fulfillment, whatever title they're given, and they'll say, look, this was based on an exception, but we want to use the internal notes because then that's not something that the client's necessarily going to see. Sometimes the way that we communicate with our teams is very different than how we communicate with clients. So oftentimes agents will use the internal notes just so that their team can see and say, by the way, we have to absolutely get the T4 because we're using a housing allowance as part of the taxable income. So we have to make sure that when we get the T4, box whatever shows the amount.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Okay, let's move to the next topic. AML in Velocity is our next topic. So there are 3 conditions that we've designed so that your deals are compliant in terms of FINTRAC expectations. While for this presentation, I'm going to be adding those conditions individually, but when you are working on a file, that will never be the case. Let me first of all show you what those conditions are. So when you go to add upload conditions, click on the drop down, scroll all the way to compliance section. One of the AML conditions is called AML sanction screening. This condition is going to screen your clients on the UN sanctions list and the Canadian sanctions list. So that's one of the conditions. Let's go to the second one. The second one is called borrower AML risk assessment. So that's the second one. And the third one is the PEP declaration, something that you need to get a document you need to get client signatures on. So borrower PEP declaration. And I'm going to add that condition too. But again, guys, only for the sake of this presentation, I have added these 3 conditions into the deal. Let me tell you that in a real life scenario, how it works. If you receive an online application with credit consent and PEP, these 3 conditions will be created in the deal automatically. If it's a deal that you have manually started, the moment you pull credit, these 3 conditions again will be added automatically. And if there is anyone who faces a situation where what I just mentioned does not happen, that's a classic example of a customer care ticket. Right? That's exactly how we've set it up so that you don't have to remember adding them all the time. These conditions will appear. Now let's have a chat about them. So sanction screening is very simple. All you have to do is select English, check off the names of all the applicants. In my case, of course, it's not going to work because it's a training account. And then when you click on this screen button over here, your clients will be screened on the UN and Canadian sanctions list immediately. Now, 2 other important things to understand in this scenario. First of all, we have our own infrastructure when it comes to screening clients, so we do not charge anything for it. And number 2, let's say a client of yours was screened today, 6 months down the line, they will be screened again automatically. And 6 months from that date, they will again be screened. So that happens constantly. And at any point of time, if any of your clients appear on the sanctions list, you will be notified with an email. And again, like I said, we do not charge anything for sanction screening. In fact, when you go to reports, you should be able to see a report of sanction screening and the risk assessment PDFs that you've created. Right? So that's that. So that's one condition.
Really quick, for compliance, when you're submitting your compliance package, you will be asked for a copy of the sanction screening report. So normally you would see that it would say cleared or whatever the case may be, and then you'll see create PDF above that. So when it shows you that the screening is completed, you're going to create the PDF and you will need to upload a copy of that PDF to Scarlet Pay.
Perfect. So that's that. Now let's go to PEP declaration before we talk about risk assessment. Now, for instance, let's say you've got 4 applicants in the deal. You will need this condition to be added 4 times. Because unlike credit consent, if you generate a credit consent in Velocity, it's going to be one PDF that includes names of all the applicants. PEP works the other way. It's going to be one PDF per applicant. So if you have 3 applicants, you're going to need 3 PEP declarations. Right? So that's another thing. Now, when it comes to your sanction screening and AML risk assessment, these 2 PDF files, documents you are generating, they are internal. The client has nothing to do with them. PEP out of the three is the only document which they should be made aware of and something they have to sign. All three of them will go into your compliance package, right? Now let's talk about borrower AML risk assessment. Ali, if you can just remind me, do they also have a hard stop if the risk assessment is not generated? They won't be able to submit?
So, yeah, so if the borrower AML risk assessment is not filled out, you will not be able to submit your file. What I will say is before you do your risk assessment at RMA, we have an additional document called the interactive scorecard. So, what is that? Where can we find it? I will put in the chat the link for it. What the AML scorecard does is it asks you a series of questions about your borrowers and the property. What we found is that too many files were coming back as low, or most of them were coming back as low risk because people weren't quite understanding what FinTrack itself is actually looking at in terms of what is risk and what is not. So the interactive scorecard, and I can show you how it works after Mihir is finished. So what it will do is it will ask you a series of questions that will help you rate the risk later on in the questionnaire here, because it will say, your borrower's risk, is it low, medium, or high? Is the property a risk? Whatever. So what you will need to do before this step is do the scorecard. Why? Because the scorecard actually helps generate some notes that you can copy and paste into this form to justify your risk rating.
Ali, if you don't mind, can you show the scorecard now? I can stop my screen share.
I can absolutely do that.
Perfect.
Okay. So can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to really quickly put the link for this. There is a PDF version of it, but I do recommend the interactive scorecard, and you're going to see why in a second. The one that's not interactive, it doesn't. You'll see here on the left-hand side, total inherent risk category, mitigation deductions, total residual risk. These will update as you go through and answer these questions. So first section deals with the customer itself. So is the borrower employed in a high-risk occupation in Schedule A? Schedule A, if we scroll down to the bottom, is right here. So if your client, so for example, I'm based out of Hamilton and I have a lot of clients who work at like the casino in Niagara, because Niagara is only like 40 minutes from me. So automatically, if we select that somebody works for, where is it here? Casino employees. So because he's a Casino Niagara employee, when I go up and I select it, it's going to automatically go, it's high risk. Now, just because it says high risk right now doesn't mean we can't go ahead with this file, because what happens is when we select one of these big ones, so all the ones that say +10, it's going to open up your mitigating factors. So just like how we might have clients that might be high risk for client, or the property might be high risk, our job is to find ways to mitigate that risk. So if you've known the borrower for more than 5 years, let's say this is a repeat client, you can select that. And when we go up, it's now dropped down to a medium risk. So the other example will be, some of these may not be applicable. Again, you have to know your file well. A significant T4 income. Yeah, for sure. He's an employee. He doesn't own the casino. So we have that information. Does this person appear on a sanctions list? Did you have to provide a suspicious transaction report? Are they PEP? Have you only met them virtually? So if you put virtually, then what's going to happen is, again, this will update as you go through. So if you've done ID electronically, now we're back up to a medium risk. So you're going to see here all of these notes here. So what some people do is they copy and paste this into the borrower AML risk assessment, and they kind of type up their own notes. So I don't use these verbatim, but I might put, it was originally high risk because he works at a casino. However, in my case, he was the compliance officer. So the likelihood of him getting away with any fraud is pretty low. Plus, everything checks out: ID, credit report, everything matches. If you're dealing with any sort of foreign income, is the down payment coming from high risk jurisdiction? So when we scroll down, if we're not sure what that means, again, we look at Schedule B, high risk jurisdiction, and these are the lists that you will see. If it's not one of those, then we don't check it off. And then again, you'll go through and check which ones apply, which ones don't. So urban center, most properties are in an urban center. Make sure to Google it if you're not sure. High crime area, that one might be a little bit harder. I know this is more common in Toronto. I've run into it where rental properties were in a high crime area and it made it a little more difficult to do. But again, it's not a hard stop. It's just how do you mitigate it and does the deal still make sense to do? So once you're finished, you're going to enter in, so let's say this client's name is John Smith. And you will need to do one of these for each client because each client will have their own individual risk. And then you'll put in your file number and then it will automatically populate the date here. When you're finished, you can print this and save this. So you'll be able to save and print the PDF to your file because you will be asked for a copy of this when you submit your compliance. Because again, head office wants to see that you have appropriately rated the risk, and this was the way that we could get a more consistent, appropriate risk rating for everything. And that's it for the interactive scorecard. So again, I have shared it in the chat as well for everyone to save.
Nicole, can you take note of this?
Yes, I can.
All right. So I'm going to start sharing my screen again. Give me 1 second, guys. Perfect. So when Ali was doing her presentation, guys, she actually spoke about the risk rating, low, medium, and high. That risk rating is then marked over here. And the notes section, she spoke about the notes. You're adding those notes over here. Besides that, when it comes to generating your risk assessment, there are a set of questions. After selecting your language, you're choosing whether the subject property is high risk or not. If the borrower is a PEP or not, if their occupation is high risk or not. When you keep your mouse on this question mark, you will see a list of all the high risk professions. You will select yes or no to all of these questions. One thing worth mentioning here is if there is a situation at any point of time, and of course, this is not mandatory, if you need to use IDV, digital ID verification, you might want to check off FastKey over here. Click on verify with FastKey. And if you click on this blue button for the very first time, it's going to take you to a FastKey page where you set up your account and then you can use it. And this is going to cost you $3.5, I want to say, per verification plus taxes. Right. So it's already 2:58 p.m. So I believe let's open it up only for questions now. And we do have 2 topics which I plan to cover today, which unfortunately we've not been able to, but we'll cover it up in the next session. That's going to be eSign, how you can use DocuSign and OneSpan in Velocity, and then also what do different Velocity deal statuses mean and how you can manually move them for data management is something I will cover in the next session. So now opening up for questions, anything you guys have, any comments, any feedback, any questions, any situations that you've come across.
If we keep that compliance form that's generated that we were just showed, is there any way we can upload it here just so we have a repository of where all the documents are before putting it in Scarlet Pay?
Yes, Adam. There is an upload button here too.
Sorry, I'm not.
So I'll give you
Oh,
an
I
example.
see it. Okay, all right. I see
Yeah,
it.
so you can do one of 2 things. I like to keep my AML scorecard. I include it in where the borrower AML risk assessment is, because if Mihir were to finish this form, you would see that there's a completed one. And then what I do is you can have more than one document in each condition. So I keep my AML scorecard in the section where I do my AML risk assessment since they're related documents. So I don't necessarily open up a new condition. You can go to compliance other and manually type in that that you have the AML scorecard. But for example, I like to just keep them together because I relied on one to complete the other.
Yeah, I just wanted to upload it there so that, like, my underwriter, when she goes to do compliance for pay, that she could just download them all and
Yes, yes.
upload it to Scarlet Pay. So that's fine. We'll upload it there.
So yeah, these are the three conditions, guys.
Yep. Mihir, would it be possible, I don't know if you did this last call, but it would be possible maybe on the next call as well too, to like, this is if you're manually doing an application, can you show people a little bit about client experience and how you can customize that to send out an application as opposed to starting it yourself or sending a link?
So we already discussed that in session 1.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I must have missed that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Which was last week, yeah. But
Okay,
yes, what we
alright.
can do, that is not a problem. What we can do is we can revisit that topic again. At least the most important points of client experience we can discuss then. Yeah.
I think we should revisit it again,
Yeah.
just because there's been some questions after the call, so.
Absolutely. Client's experience it is.
I got a quick question. You may have already covered it and I missed it, and if that's the case, I apologize. But I have a DocuSign account, and I know that with this platform, it's you can request documents and whatnot and get signatures. But is there any way to? Because I just redid my DocuSign subscription, and got like a bunch of envelopes and whatnot, and it would, obviously I spent some money on it. Is there any way to link that with my current DocuSign account to use that, or is it's just now it's just a waste?
Unfortunately, not, Jeff. How it works, how DocuSign and OneSpan work in Velocity is we've actually purchased bulk credits from them, which we resell to you. So from the membership page of the platform, you're buying the credits, and then right from this particular section, you are creating a signing package and then sending it to the clients. Then once the clients have completed the signatures, all the blank documents in this section will be replaced with the signed documents. But it's a paid add-on, and it doesn't connect with your existing DocuSign accounts. It's just credits that you purchase from Velocity.
Okay, and if I choose not to do that, I guess I could just
Totally fine.
use my own DocuSign for
Absolutely.
the remainder until I run out of envelopes, and then look to do this.
Yes, it's optional. It's optional.
Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
You're welcome.
We covered the document collection, but we didn't cover the packaging side of that. Is that
Yes, we have.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's going to be another.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that's going to be the next one. Yeah. Anything else, guys?
Thank you, Mihir.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So on that
Thanks,
note, thank you so much
guys.
for coming in. Thank you, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Nicole, for sure, this time it won't be like the last time. There won't be a delay. I'll let you know immediately once it's uploaded on YouTube. It'll go into the same playlist, but I'll let you know.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'll add that first one to the YouTube when you send me that one as well, because they have the links already to go into the actual meeting, but I'll add both together on that,
Perfect.
so there was no confusion.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Here, awesome job as always. And
Thank
thanks
you,
everyone.
Claudia.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.